Okay, so I'm sitting in. Oh, hi, by the way, it's me. So I'm sitting in the dark in my room. I'm about to go take a nap. I'm off today, but my son was off, and so was my daughter. My mom was here, and everybody's sick and all that fun stuff. So I started hacking up a lung. It's just a cold, all that fun stuff. It's not COVID. I'm not dying, any of that fun stuff. Um, I watched episode 2 and I watched half of episode 3. So I'm gonna talk about that, and then I'm gonna go back and finish watching episode 3 and then do a proper one. I didn't write notes for episode 2 because I was like folding laundry while I was doing it. So I'm just gonna talk about people, the way that we were before. I'm gonna try and stay focused on the we're in space thing. So that was the episode that the last 10 minutes they had started to lose me. So I kind of, all right, so I think that, like, subconsciously, I knew that there was something wrong with it because you know how when you see something and then it goes, like, you get a weird little negative vibe about it, like something's wrong, and later on you find out that, like, oh, it's because this was not the way it was supposed to be. So watching it go into space, I kind of had, like, a weird little aversion to it, and I just kind of like passed it off to the side and then was like, oh, whatever, we'll keep going. So I'm gathering it was because of how it went into space and it didn't look realistic and stuff. And then I did get out of the moment a lot when it started, when the plane started going, when the ship started going like that, because I was like, that's so. It's not even a matter of like, think about like the gravity, fucking gravity. Even the gravity is inside. Like, it's throwing people. Like the way that it was spinning was like crazy. I was like, all the people in there would be dead. Forget but this thing would be torn to shreds. They would be dead because you basically like shook them up and they're all like all over the place. So whatever. Suspend disbelief to some degree. The part that really bothered me, I'm gonna go to the part that bothered me and then I'll go back to people. The part that really bothered me was the fucking, I'm gonna jump from our plane to Mir. What? Like, what? Like, we're in space, you know what I mean? Where there's no gravity and you're untethered. Like, what? Like, I can suspend disbelief to some degree, but like this is outer space. Like I doubt that you have the kind of pinpoint accuracy that one would need to fly from one ship to another ship, and the ship seemed kind of far. So like what? Like that part didn't make sense. And then like I had to like part of me had to laugh because I was totally like the dude who answers the fucking door at a mirror needs to have like a what the fuck look on his face. Like, you know, he needs to have a remember Midnight from freaking Doctor Who, where like what the fuck is at the door? What is banging at the door and stuff like that? You need to fucking creep the fuck out that there is something banging on your door in space. You know what I mean? I feel like the dude didn't have as much of a terrified look in his face as he should have. But that's just me. Also, you know, we're assuming that they all speak fluent English and he can hear him through space and he can hear him through whatever. We just tried too much to just suspend disbelief in this episode, and I kind of didn't like it because I was like, all right, now you're reaching the outer limits. Now, in my head, I was like, you know, how come I kind of bought this in Doctor Who when this has happened, but I didn't buy it here? It's because it's fucking Doctor Who. Because in my head, I can go ahead and justify that the invisible force field tethered tractor beam-ish thing that the TARDIS has allows the Doctor to do various things around, because we've seen it, you know, we've seen him do various things outside the TARDIS, as like there's a force field around it. It's like where Tennant had the what the fuck, where Tennant came out for the Day of the Doctor, and like he had that force field around him and nobody could attack him because there was that force field around the TARDIS around him and stuff like that. So I could buy that, you know what I mean, with the TARDIS being a ship and then him jumping off to something else and the TARDIS, you know, expanding the bubble. I just can't buy it with this because this is supposed to be more you know, Doctor Who is notoriously a suspend disbelief for space and time travel because you don't know shit, whereas this is just a suspend disbelief for time travel but based in science kind of thing. So I don't know, I struggled with that a little bit, so that kind of took me out of the moment too. So we'll go back to people. So I'm going to try not to mix up the third episode with this one, and I'll do my best. So, her name is Addison, by the way. His fiance, the Watcher, whatever the female Al now, Addison is her name. I like that she was kind of going off the rails here because fucking yeah, you should be going off the rails with this shit. This does not happen every day. So I do like the concept of like, we need to check in. You know what I mean? And it was Ian was the guy's name who was doing that. I'm learning everybody's names now. I think Anne was Miranda May. To her credit, this woman had a lot more personality than Miranda May did. There were some scenes in there that I was like, okay, now you're stepping away from Miranda May, so I will forgive you, and now we're going to go ahead and see who you turn into. Ian is definitely like the conscience and stuff like that, and I love that. I love, again, the gender fluidity of him. I love that, you know, he's wearing lipstick and his hair is beautiful and he's all over the place and stuff. Love him. He's probably one of my favorite characters on the show so far, which is sad. Magic, which is Ernie Hudson. Always love Ernie Hudson. I also agree with you. I feel like this is Beth that he went to go see. Like, that was our Beth. But I think even then, Beth was, I think we ignored it because we loved Al so much. I feel like Beth was young. She seemed younger looking than Al did. Because I feel like Al had, mileage on him by the time we saw him, obviously. I'm not sure if this is the same actress. We have to look that up and let me know. I like that we brought Beth in. I was totally okay with bringing Beth in. I was hoping we'd see her, actually. There is a fun little, is Janice evil or not? And she sets her shit on fire. Like, are we doing that? Like, what are we doing here with her? Like, I don't really want to make her evil. I want to know why she's driven, but I'm assuming we'll figure it out as time goes on. Then she made it sound like Ben came to her. And again, we don't know if she's lying or not or whatever. So I'm just kind of like, I guess we'll just stick with it. I guess we just have to ride the ride and see what happens here. So, Ben himself, let me talk about him for 5 seconds. So Ben himself was extra, like, useless in this. Like, I feel like, the only good scenes where he felt like he contributed anything to the plot were the scenes where he was talking to Addison about herself. Like, who's the lucky guy? I hope I'm there for that and stuff like that. Like, when he seemed like a human being with all that, and then when he gave her, like, I wouldn't want to know either from blah, blah, blah. Like, those are the only times he was useful for the whole entire whatever. I get it. I get that he's not going to know how to, do the astronaut thing and stuff like that. But then he was also like, I looked up to Daniel Takamura or whatever. Tamurara? Whatever. I looked up to this guy. And who loves space? Me. And all kinds of stuff like that. So I would have expected him to be a little bit more helpful than he was. Now, don't get me wrong. People train for many, 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 many years to go ahead and be astronauts. So I'm not discrediting astronaut education. It's more along the lines of, like, Ben, you are fucking completely useless and you are depending on Addison to, like, Wikipedia how to run a rocket. Like, contribute something to the conversation, bud, because you're kind of useless here. Further proving my previous point of, like, you always need a freaking Al. You always need a watcher or whatever. You always need a helper. Like, you can't do this shit. You are proving that we don't. That you cannot do this by yourself. That you absolutely need another person. We tack on that as well when we get to the next episode as well. But we'll get to that in a minute. So he just seemed kind of useless. I also agreed with you where it's like, oh, because you didn't get hit by the space shrapnel, then the other thing did. I was like, that is not the speed and space how everything works. Like, your soft little body does not go ahead and, like, kill the momentum of things traveling 1,000 miles an hour in space. Like, it does not. I don't buy that. I also, you said something else that I thought was also spot on. I I don't think that I ever have not seen or heard of, even in the periphery, some kind of like everything that happens, every rocket that goes into space. I've not seen something like every single one. We fucking saw when fucking Bezos goes into fucking space. You know what I mean? Like that fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? Stuff like it's always national news in some way, shape, or form. I believe this was after Challenger too, so especially after that. You know what I mean? Like we all, because I think Challenger was like early 90s and this one was 1998. So yeah, it would have been fucking everywhere. Like, I don't buy that, like, Houston's like, oh shit, we lost track. We'll get him back. Like, no, that's not how this works. So again, we're back to suspending disbelief. So yeah, a lot of this was like, not really, like, whatever, dude. Like, okay, we need to come up with a problem. Your boss dude got upset, and like, I wasn't as upset about the whole, like, he was, I'm the boss and you're gonna listen to everything that I said, even though I am injured and stuff like that. Like, you did need to, like, we already were building on him training that other chick. I don't remember her name. Morva was here again, so it doesn't matter. We were building on her needing to prove herself to him, and not devastated about the fact that they were going to disagree. That's kind of where we were going. I did like how Ben solved it, though. You know what I mean? He was like, look, you're concussed as a motherfucker. You came out of concussion, like, you got awake like 4 minutes ago. Like, could you trust someone who's been dealing with this shit? You told her all these things, you trained her, now it's time for you to trust her. Let go of the reins. And, like, that was fine. I did have a moment where Ben was on his second spacewalk, where it almost looked like he was going to, like, abandon Ben. Like, remember when he was like, how much air do we have left? Like, an hour and 15. And how long is it gonna take us to do this? An hour. And, like, I was like, are they gonna abandon, like, lock the doors and leave Ben outside? Because that would be a reason to keep secret in freaking NASA. That NASA would keep secret, because this dude made a unilateral decision to sacrifice a person for oxygen. Like, that would have made sense, but we didn't steer into that. We played a little safer than that. We were just like, oh, we're just trying to figure out how to do this quickly. That's it. So yeah, it was, like I said, I was fine. It's fine. It just keep going. It's fine. We'll figure it out and stuff like that. The whole time. And then once he did the Superman from one plane to the one rocket to the other, one rocket to the space station, I was like, nah, we're not Doctor Who, so stop it. So yeah, what I did really like, though, at the end of this is that they finally got that little thumb drive that she had found earlier and plugged in, and it had like a weird, like, Cerebro vibe to it, where it was like, all these different points. It's interesting to me that we're trying to get to one point, because that I find very interesting. Like, what one point are we trying to get? In our minds, is it like the point where Sam, there needs to be a leaper, and like we let Sam go home and then we take his spot? Is it we never wanted to have created Starbright at all? Project Quantum Leap. What is it? Like, what's that one point? That's pretty cool. Like, I like that we do have that as like a theme now. You know what I mean? Like, that's something we can build towards, unless they abandon it, and then I'm gonna disavow all knowledge. So I liked that. That part I thought was interesting. I was like, okay, now you're giving me some kind of cliffhangers, so I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not giving me this show's notorious. Obviously, every single episode has a cliffhanger where it's like, oh no, oh boy. And oh, that's another thing. We kind of abandoned oh boy, and I really need, like, we tried oh shit at first, and I hate that. We're not back to oh boy. He's doing oh, and like that's not the same thing either. It feels like just the tip. So I don't like that. But yeah, that part I'm cool with. Give me like one thing to hold on to. Like, give me one recurring theme to work with, aside from why the hell did Ben and Janice get together and decide to do this? So that's that episode. So then going on to the next one, I only watched like the first like 25 minutes of it, and then I was tired and went to sleep. So the first 25 minutes, what I liked here is that very quickly afterwards, we talk about how Ben's code decided that we are no longer just going to stick in his timeline. Like, fucking yes. That is something that I didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of didn't like that for Sam to some degree, because a lot of life happened before Sam. Now, don't get me wrong. Has there been a fuck ton of life between, you know, the early 60s and the late 80s, early 90s? Hell yeah, there has. But, like, this guy's much younger. Let's go ahead, like, I've seen the last almost 40 years. I seen them. I want to see shit that happened before. I want to see life when it was, like, you know, crazy shit like this. So I like that we resolved that right off the bat. That part's great. I like that we're still working on locating him. I do like that we're starting to get into a point of, yeah, well, here's what's happening early on. I don't like that she's, you know, Addison needs to learn how to shadow box to help him. Again, he's fucking useless here. Like, dude, do you not know how to fight at all? Like, one thing that Sam did know was Sam had, like, black belts, didn't he? And, like, various shit. And I was like, why is Sam more badass? I mean, we already knew Sam was more badass than he was. But, like, we know, Ben, that Sam was already more badass than you, because Sam could fight and be okay with his life for it. Don't get me wrong, he still would have needed Al to some degree. And I feel like we've seen a boxing one with Sam, but I don't remember it right now. But I feel like I can see Al in his corner yelling at him about something. I don't remember why. Maybe because I'm always used to Al, like, holding a cigar and, like, threatening to punch someone and stuff like that. You know exactly what I'm talking about, so don't pretend you don't. So, yeah, I kind of didn't like that part, because I was totally like, again, you're fucking useless, and you have Addison helping with this. But I did like that we're expanding it so it's, like, beyond the lifetime. I do like that Magic is like, now I have to fucking go explain this shit to people. Like, good, let's talk about the fucking purple elephant in the fucking corner. Like, this is not a small basic thing. Like, this is gonna use up a lot of energy for leaps. This is gonna use up a lot of, you know, memory processing and stuff like that. This is not... I'm interested to know how much, like, quantitatively this might use to actually make leaps happen instead of whatever. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, I had to show you something because it made me laugh for it. So you were so salty about, like, them talking about Quantum Leap. Hold on, let me make sure I don't knock this over while I do this. So, like, in my head, I was like, no, they didn't call it Quantum Leap or Quantum Leap. I don't know if you remember that episode, but I was like, I had to see if you remembered it. What, Quantum Leap? I'm freaking ridiculous. I know it. So, yeah, I am going to watch the rest of that episode, but it seemed okay so far. But the big standout moment to me was just when they're like, yep, he's going behind his own lifeline. So, ta-da! And that was it. So we'll see what else happens. I do like back on Earth times. Like, let's not do space again for a while, friend. Like, don't get me wrong, you can put yourself in precarious positions. I'm totally fine with that. Don't go into space. Like, you having a hard enough time with some time travel, friend. I also agree where I don't want to always see the team like this either, because it is going to start getting old. Like, remember, like, you know, he gets there and he's like, hey, what happened wrong this time? And you're like, I don't know. And then, like, you know, one other thing I do like is that he is starting to remember parts about himself. I almost have a feeling like he remembers more than he's letting on, but he's not telling Addison that because he's trying to spare her, like, her feelings or something. I don't know. I haven't watched the rest, and we'll see. So I'll let you know how I feel about next steps and stuff like that. I think it's like 4 or 5 episodes in now. Yeah, so I'm gonna watch it. I'll let you know what I think. Let's see. Going back to a couple of small things. You said Peanut Hamper episode. Fuck that episode. I know that you didn't like it, but you were like, meh, when it came to it. I get it. I don't care. Like, I don't care. You know, it was just whatever. It was an episode that happened. As far as Crisis Point was concerned, I did not know the JFK thing. I kind of love it more now they did it, because it was like right next to the Kelvinverse nod and stuff like that I paid attention to. So, yeah, I like the episode much better than the Peanut Hamper episode. But, like, this is good trivia. Last thing I'm going to say, because you know I like to point out purple elephants, it's my jam. You never have to be embarrassed about that. If anything, I find that to be one of the most educational points of my life. And I find that many of the principles that we discussed during that time, I apply towards my position in business. For example, I found that I have very often worked underneath, how do I say this? Men who are not nearly as smart as I am. So, very often I have had to apply the topping from the bottom principle. So I very often use similar principles in consenting relationships. And it's funny how much you use it in business. Like, think about how much in business, if you were to go ahead and put, like, you know, add some leather and a whip, like, it might apply. You know what I mean? Like the power dynamics. So, but no, I totally... Oh, that was thunder. I totally get what you were saying as far as it was concerned. It does take you out. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, I know I have a safe word. I know how to use the safe word. Stop talking about the fucking safe word. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... It does take you out. Like, it gets to a point where it's just like, I get it. I understand. I understood it a long time ago. Let's move on. You know what I mean? So... yeah, no, the whole point made sense, but you don't need to get embarrassed with that, because like I said, it was very educational, and I'm always interested in talking more about that should you ever decide to, and not get embarrassed about it. So anyway, this has gone on very long, so we'll talk soon. Let me know what you think. Oh, where are you with Leverage, by the way? Because I'm not sure. I think you had a lot of stuff working on and whatever, but let me know where you are with Leverage, Redemption, and stuff, and what you're thinking about it or whatever. I'm not sure where you ended up. I hope that you got close to the bottle job, because that is my favorite Leverage Redemption episode so far, and I had a lot of feelings about it. So anyway, give me a call. Not give me a call. You're doing this. You just don't need to call me. Let me know what you think. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.